HOA Nightmare. She messed with my dog and paid the price. I should have known. A sense of dread hung over the beginning of this whole story. The air was so thick you could cut it with a knife. It was never a matter of if the homeowners association would come for me, only when. I just never imagined how low they'd stoop. It started small. Annoyances really. A notice about the length of my grass. A warning about my trash cans being visible from the street. Irritating, but nothing worth losing sleep over. Then came a letter. Dear Mr. Lopez, it began, each word feeling like a punch to the gut. We have received multiple complaints regarding your dog's aggressive behavior. In accordance with Section 12B of the Fairview Meadows Homeowners Association guidelines, all homeowners must ensure that their pets do not pose a danger to the community. Failure to comply will result in fines and possible removal of the animal by the proper authorities. I read it 3 times, each word tightening the knot of dread in my stomach. It didn't make sense. My dog, Buster, was a Great Pyrenees, a giant, yes, but about as threatening as an oversized pillow. His idea of aggression was wagging his tail too hard when he got excited. I folded the letter and tossed it onto the counter, shaking my head. It had to be a mistake. Maybe some old lady mistook his barking for aggression. Maybe a kid got scared just because he was big. I talked to them, clear it up, and that would be the end of it. But deep down, I knew better. I had lived in Fairview Meadows long enough to know that Donna Caldwell, a HOA president, thrived on control. Every decision, every rule, every petty enforcement, it all led back to her. And she had never liked me. I knocked on her door that afternoon, expecting a quick, reasonable conversation. Instead, she barely cracked the door open, her face a mask of barely concealed annoyance. Yes, I forced a polite smile. Hey Donna, I got a letter about my dog, Buster. It says he's been aggressive, but I think there's been a misunderstanding. How I stayed cold. There's no misunderstanding. We've had multiple complaints. From who? She blinked slowly, like I had just asked her the meaning of life. That information is confidential. I exhaled through my nose. Buster isn't aggressive. He's never even left our yard without a leash. I just want to know what's going on. Her lips twitched into something that wasn't quite a smile. We take resident concerns very seriously. And just like that, she closed the door. That was when I knew this wasn't about Buster. It was about me. A few months back, I had called Donna out at a homeowners association meeting for enforcing rules that she herself didn't follow. It wasn't a big deal, or so I had thought, but people like Donna don't forget. And when the moment is right, they strike. I told myself it would blow over. Then came the second letter, a formal violation notice this time. It wasn't just complaints, it was accusations. Buster had snarled menacingly at a jogger and acted aggressively toward multiple residents. None of it was true. I showed it to my wife, Natalie, as we ate dinner that night. She sighed, rubbing her temples. I don't want to fight, Ray. It's already a fight. I pushed my plate away, appetite gone. They're trying to get rid of Buster. Then what do we do? Nothing, I said, my voice tight. They don't have proof. They can't actually do anything. I was wrong. A week later, I woke up to Buster barking like crazy. I stumbled outside, still half asleep, and froze. A white animal control van was parked in front of my house. 2 officers stood near my gate, and standing beside them, arms crossed, was Donna Caldwell. One of the officers, an older guy with a mustache, looked up from his clipboard. Mr. Lopez, we received reports that your dog is a danger to the community. We're here to assess the situation. Donna's lips curled slightly and remove the animal, if necessary. The way she said it so smug, so confident made my skin crawl. I stepped forward, heart pounding. Who filed the report? Multiple residents, the younger officer replied. I turned to Donna. Who exactly? She didn't blink. That information is confidential. Something in me snapped. You know what, Donna? I don't buy it. You've had it out for me since the meeting, and now you're coming after my dog because you're too much of a coward to come after me directly. Her expression didn't change, but I saw something flicker in her eyes, not anger, satisfaction. You can believe whatever you want, she said smoothly, but the fact remains, your dog is a problem. The older officer narrowed the distance between us. You got security cameras? I nodded. Mind if we take a look? Donna's face paled, just slightly. We went inside, pulled up the footage, and scrolled through days worth of recordings. Buster, as expected, did absolutely nothing aggressive. He roamed the yard. He wagged his tail at passing neighbors. He barked at a squirrel, but he never lunged, never bit, never threatened. The officer sat back, tapping his pen against his clipboard. Well, that's interesting. Hey, you remember that case a few years back? He turned to his partner, the woman who faked dog bites. The younger officer frowned. The one in this neighborhood. The older guy nodded slowly, then turned to Donna. That wouldn't have been you, would it? For the first time, Donna looked uneasy. I don't know what you're talking about, but her hands tightened around her arms. The officer sighed, standing up. We'll be closing this case. No evidence of aggression. Donna said nothing. They left, and Donna, she walked back to her house without a word. I should have felt relieved. I should have felt victorious. But as I stood in my doorway watching her disappear behind her front door, something cold settled in my stomach. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The days that followed were too quiet. The kind of quiet that made my skin crawl. I expected retaliation. Donna wasn't the type to let something go. Not when she'd been humiliated in front of actual authorities. But for nearly a week, there was nothing. No letters, no new complaints, not even a passive-aggressive glance when I saw her checking her mail. It should have been a relief, but it wasn't. The silence felt like a stretched rubber band, waiting to snap. Then, on a Friday evening, I got home from work to find a bright red homeowners association violation notice taped to my door. I ripped it off and scanned the paper. Failure to comply with community maintenance standards. Fines will be imposed until rectified. I reread it twice, trying to understand what the hell they were talking about. My lawn was trimmed, my house was in good shape, and my trash bins were exactly where they were supposed to be. And then I saw it. The fence, one of the wooden slats had been knocked loose, just enough to make it look like a violation. My chest tightened. There was no way that had happened on its own. I fixed it that night, hammering the slat back into place with more force than necessary. The next morning, I emailed the HOA with a picture of my perfectly intact fence. No response. A few days later, another red notice. Unapproved outdoor structure. This time, the complaint was about the shed in my backyard. The shed that had been there since before I even bought the house. The shed that was on the original property survey and had never been an issue before. I sent another email. No response. Natalie watched me pacing in the kitchen that night, arms crossed. She's messing with you, Ray. Yeah, I know. So, what are you going to do? I exhaled through my nose. Not give her what she wants. Which was a reaction. That was the game now. She knew she couldn't touch Buster directly, so she was finding other ways to make my life miserable. And she wasn't alone, because suddenly, my neighbors stopped talking to me. Not all of them, just enough for me to notice. The friendly nods, the small talk at the mailbox, the casual waves from across the street. Dawn, some avoided eye contact altogether. Others just gave me tight, uncomfortable smiles. It was like I had become the neighborhood pariah. The shift was subtle, but it was real. I overheard whispers when I walked Buster. People who used to greet him suddenly crossed the street. A couple of kids who had played in my front yard last summer were pulled away by their parents. The worst part, I had no proof. Nothing I could take to the police. Nothing I could show as concrete evidence. Just little, infuriating things that added up day after day. Then, one night, Buster went missing. I had let him out in the backyard like always. The same routine we had for years. I went to call him in and the gate was wide open. It had been locked. Someone had opened it. Panic hit me like a freight train. I grabbed a flashlight and bolted at the gate, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. Buster, my voice echoed through the quiet neighborhood. But there was no answering bar. I sprinted down the street, scanning every yard, every driveway. Natalie was right behind me, calling his name. Porch lights flicked on as neighbors peeked outside, watching but not helping. Not a single person offered to join the search. Because that was the thing about neighborhoods like this. People would rather watch trauma unfold than step in to stop it. I ran until my legs burned, checking alleyways, side streets, anywhere he could have wandered. But I knew Buster. He wouldn't just leave. He wouldn't run off. Someone took him, and I had a sickening feeling I knew exactly who. I turned back toward home, my pulse hammered. Natalie caught up to me, breathless. Ray, what if he's not lost? I snapped, barely recognizing my own voice. He was taken. Her eyes widened. You don't think, who else would it be? I shot a glare toward Donna's house. She couldn't get him taken legally, so she did it herself. Natalie swallowed hard. We need to call the police. I already was. My hand shook as I dialed. And when dispatch answered, I forced myself to stay calm as I reported a stolen dog. They told me to stay home and wait for an officer. Wait. Buster was out there, scared, maybe hurt, and I was supposed to sit on my ass until some officer showed up to take a report? Screw that. I turned to Nat. You wait for the cop. I'm handling this myself. Her face filled with worry, but I was already walking straight toward Donna's house. Her porch light was on, but the curtains were drawn tight. The house was silent. Too silent. I rang the doorbell. No answer. I ran again, and then I banged on the door, loudly. Donna, my voice was razor sharp. I know you're in there. Nothing. My blood was boiling now. I don't care what kind of grudge you have against me, but you crossed the line. You took my dog. The door stayed shut. That's when I heard it. A bark. It was faint, muffled, but I knew Buster's bark like I knew my own heartbeat, and it was coming from her backyard. I didn't think. I moved. I stormed around the side of the house, ignoring the fact that I was trespassing. My flashlight being cut through the dark, scanning the yard. And then I saw him. Buster was tied to a stake near Donna's back fence, his leash so short he could barely move. His fur was matted with dirt, and he whimpered when he saw me. Pure rage took over. I didn't care about homeowners association rules. I didn't care about property lines. I jumped the fence. Buster barked frantically as I reached him, his tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. I dropped to my knees and unclipped his leash, running my hands over him. He was filthy, but unharmed. And then a voice behind me, you have no right to be here. I turned slowly, My fist clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. Donna stood on her back porch, arms crossed, face calm and composed like she hadn't just kidnapped my dog. "You're trespassing," she said smoothly. "I suggest you leave before I call the police." I took a step toward her. "Go ahead, call them. Let's see who gets arrested first. The guy getting his stolen dog back, or the woman who kidnapped him?" Her lips pressed together. "I don't know what you're talking about. That dog was wandering the neighborhood. I was simply keeping him safe until animal control arrived." "Liar, you opened my gate and took him." She smiled, slow and condescending. "You can't prove that." "Oh, but I could." Because while she had been standing there, smug and untouchable, Natalie had been recording everything from our driveway, and she had caught Donna admitting to having Buster. I pulled out my phone, held it up so she could see the screen, and pressed play. Her own voice echoed. "That dog was wandering the neighborhood. I was simply keeping him safe until animal control arrived." Her face was drained of color. I let the silence stretch, savoring the moment. "You just admitted to taking him," I said. "That's theft. And with the security footage of you near my yacht earlier tonight, that's breaking and entering." She opened her mouth, then shut it. "You called the cops, Donna." "Could, because I already did." Her eyes darted past me toward the front of the house. The flashing red and blue lights of a police cruiser reflected in her windows. Panic flickered across her face, but she masked it quickly. "This is ridiculous," she muttered. "It's just a dog, just a dog." My hand shook from the restraint it took not to tear her world apart right then and there. "You messed with the wrong person," I said quietly, "and you're about to find out exactly how much of a mistake that was." The police arrived within minutes. Natalie handed them her phone. I explained everything. The false reports, harassment, the stolen dog, and the officers. They weren't HOA lapdogs. They weren't there to cover for her. They saw the footage. They heard the recording, and they saw right through her lies. Donna Caldwell was arrested for trespassing and theft. The HOA tried to brush it under the rug. They sent out a vague statement about a misunderstanding and internal leadership restructuring. But the damage was done. Donna lost her position, her reputation, and eventually her house. Because a few months later, her property went up for sale. I never saw her again. But every morning when I walked Buster past that empty house, I made sure to smile. Because some people learn their lessons the hard way. And Donna, she learned hers from me. So, Reddit, after hearing all of this, do you think I handled the situation correctly? Should I have done anything differently? What would you have done in my shoes? I'm eager to hear your perspectives on this whole crazy ordeal, and if you think justice will serve given the circumstances of the situation.